My name is Senator Abrazizi. This is my second time speaking this session. You need my last name that's up here? Cool. I stand in strong negation of a bill to decriminalize sex work for three main reasons. The first being that the taboo with sex work will essentially eliminate any of the benefits of possible unionization and decriminalization. And so the premise behind this is basically that when the government doesn't like something, in the same way that it didn't like use of drugs, it's basically going to try to regulate it out of use. And this means that essentially, even if people who are working in the sex industry are going to try to get benefits from unions, from things that do require some kind of government oversight, the government is essentially going to make it so that the entire system is stacked against them. So what we see is that even if prostitution or sex work is legalized and is decriminalized, what ends up happening is that they're not going to be able to access any of these benefits, and you essentially get back to square one. Next, I'm going to be talking about basically how unionizing or decriminalizing sex work doesn't actually solve the problem, a very pervasive problem of young people being forced into sex work, people who wouldn't be shielded and protected by this bill because due to basically poverty. So there is this huge epidemic of, when we're talking about sex work, not just in the United States, but globally as well, of young people who are essentially forced, due to impoverished situations, into sex work. However, this bill, and just even realistically, wouldn't help in any way those young people, people who are under the legal age of prostitution, to be regulated in the same way. And so what happens is that they don't access any of the benefits of such legislation. Also what happens is that when the general society thinks that our problems with basically unregulated sex work are going to be solved by this bill, what ends up happening is that they become complacent because they don't realize that an entire extremely vulnerable population is not being helped by legislation such as this. And third and finally, I'm going to be talking specifically about how, rather than decriminalizing sex work, we need to find ways to eliminate it, because sex work is something that is a sign of a larger problem. So many people like to say that sex work is something that's empowering to a lot of young women and men who are involved. However, one of the main reasons as to why it's empowering is because otherwise these people would be living in extreme poverty. Rather than just saying that we need to decriminalize sex work, which can give a heightened risk of STDs, and then if you're poor, an inability to access healthcare to treat those STDs, we need to be focusing on fixing the negative impact of systemic poverty, of generational poverty that ultimately leads people into sex work. And so for all of these reasons, I strongly urge you to vote in favor of the negation of this bill. Thank you. I now stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Abrazizi. That was a speech of 2 minutes and 54 seconds.